Okay, in this video, I'm going to talk about absolute value. So we can have absolute value equations and we can have absolute value inequalities. They're going to work about the same way, kind of, with one little catch. So the very first thing, your very first step, is you have to isolate the absolute value. Okay? So the absolute value is the piece of the equation or the inequality that has these bars, these vertical bars. So this part would be considered the absolute value right here. So I need that piece by itself. That means the -3 we need to get rid of it. And when a number is in front of an absolute value, just like when a number is in front of a parentheses, it means to multiply. So to get rid of this guy, I have to divide. So I will divide both sides by -3. That will make those divide out. I'll be left with the absolute value of 2v plus 6 is equal to 0 divided by -3, which is 0. Okay, so the definition of absolute value is distance. So it's distance from 0. The question is, how far away from 0 is 2v plus 6? So if you think of absolute value as distance, then you have to consider that if I'm at 0 and I want to know how far, let's say, 3 is, the question is, how many units does it take to get out to 3? Well, it takes 3 units. Well, if I'm on this side of 0 and I go out to -3, how many units does it take to get out to -3? Well, it still takes 3 units. So the absolute value of -3 is 3, and the absolute value of +3 is 3, because they're both 3 units away from 0. Okay, so in this case, the question is, how far is 2v plus 6 away from 0? Well, it's equal to 0, because the absolute value is equal to 0. So on this problem, we would say 2v plus 6 is equal to 0, because 0 is no units away from 0. And so then I would solve this equation. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. So 2v is equal to -6. Then I'm going to divide by both sides by 2. And so v is equal to -6 divided by 2, which is -3. So if v is -3, then this equation will be equal to 0. And I'll show you that that's going to be true. Okay, so all I'm going to do is take that -3 and plug it in. So then I get -3 times the absolute value. This is 2 times -3, which is -6. And so -6 plus 6 is 0. And so -3 times the absolute value 0. The absolute value of 0 is 0. So this is -3 times 0. And -3 times 0 is 0. So when I plugged in -3 right here for the v, I got a true statement at the end. So the solution for this absolute value equation is -3. Okay, let's look at another one. Well, yeah, we better look at one more absolute value equation. Okay, so let me try this one. Suppose that I had, let's see, the absolute value of u plus 21 is equal to 35. Okay? So I have to get the absolute value by itself first. So I'll subtract 21 from both sides. So I get the absolute value of u is equal to 14. So what that says is, it's asking you, what could u be so that its distance from 0 is 14? So think about that. So here's a number line. Here's 0. I want my distance away from 0 to be 14. So where would I land? Well, I would either land at 14 or I would land at negative 14. So u could either be 14 or u could be negative 14, and that statement would be true. Let's try one more. See if I can get us another one. Suppose that I had the absolute value of 5v plus 15 is equal to 5. So in order to solve this one, the absolute value is already by itself. So now I just have to ask myself, okay, so I'm wanting to know what number could this be so that its distance from 0, that's the absolute value, is equal to 5. So in my brain, I'm thinking, well, the distance had to be 5, and it had to be 5, right? So either I landed on 5 or I landed on negative 5. So that means that what's in the center here, it either was equal to 5 or it was equal to negative 5. And you'll notice they're going to all work like this because when you have your absolute value equal to a number, then you have to say, well, okay, it could have gone to the positive side or it could have gone to the negative side. So you'll have to use the positive side and the negative side. So now we solve those two equations to get the two values because there's got to be a value that got us out here and there's got to be a value that got us out there. So we have to have two values for v. So I'll subtract 15. So 5v is equal to negative 10. Divide by 5. V is equal to negative 2. Okay, or, so see that one took me out to the 5. So that means if I plugged in a negative 2, that would take me out to 5. Okay, so let's try the other side. So I'll subtract 15 from both sides. So 5v is equal to negative 20. I think of this as money. I lost $5, I lost $15, I'm down 20. Now divide both sides by 5. So v is equal to, now this is a different rule. The signs are different. It's always negative when you divide. So 20 divided by 5 is 4. So that tells me that if I plugged in a negative 4, that's going to take me out here, okay, to that negative 5. So the two values that work in this equation, absolute value equation, are v equals negative 2 or v equals negative 4. You got to get positive 5 and you got to get the negative 5.